It's really nice to be here because this is really many fantastic places in Shanghai, but we are in Lujiazui. Personally, I think my favorite place in Shanghai, but we are going through a very special moment. It is why we call this series actually a time of resilience.
Resilience is clearly with agility, the 2 points that are coming through these last months of being in China. I would say that resilience has to go through maybe for us 4 pillars. The first pillar, and I will develop, is the people. The second pillar was the client centricity. The third pillar was basically society. And the fourth pillar was related to being liquidity, because we are an organization where we had to stay liquid.
How do you see the French companies and the Chinese companies co-creating values?
That's, I think, very also important in the context, knowing that everything is moving, basically, and it depends on where do you stand in terms of the momentum. And I think that recent months has been showing that we are maybe in another period, and that things have very much evolved. So I'm still trying to understand. But I believe that the goal, the ultimate goal, is pretty much the same. How can we win together, and how can we continue to build up a bicultural and a win-win again situation, position? So first, I think between France and China, what's very important is to really remind that we are talking about a very long history and very, very long cooperation. And I think cooperation is also a very important term in the context, because we need to cooperate, because in these kind of difficult times, no one can win on its own. I think we need to stand together, and we need to develop, to co-develop actions together.
I fully agree with you here. How do you see the significance of the Belt and Road in this post-COVID-19 world?
Because we were mentioning the cooperation between France and China, and I think that's really related to Belt and Road when we talk about China investment in France. Right now, France is positioning as I would say, a good country, a positive country, when comes the time of Chinese investment. I think maybe now, 2020, we are in the COVID or post-COVID situation. Maybe that's a good time to sit down and look back, right? What has happened, and how can it be seen as a more positive initiative? Because as you all also know, there are a lot of comments on, what has been done, what could be done, and so on. I really believe at the end that it could be a co-value project, wherever a country is good at coming together and building together something, right? That's where positiveness, more positiveness potentially could come. You know about all the ties between France and Africa, and then, it's quite obvious that every time that we talk about Belt and Road and France and China, we say, okay, then let's go to Africa.
And on this axis of the Belt and Road, we go in a very natural way towards Africa. There is not enough trust between China and the West. But when we think about the causes of this mistrust, very often we forget the very basic fact that, in fact, so many people in the West, I don't even talk about the US, but let us talk about France, so many people simply ignore China or do not know enough about basic things about China.
I believe that a lot of issues or a lot of problems or a lot of misunderstanding, let's put it this way, they're related to the fact that we don't talk to each other or we don't know each other so much. So then how can things change? And things change when we build up a platform, a communication platform, where we put together people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different sector industries, and then we get into one room, one forum, one seminar, and then we exchange.
Thank you very much, Bertrand, for your patience for dialogue. This is something that is needed, and I was listening to you. Of course, we are here to have a conversation in a time of resilience. You explain your views on resilience, but I think time after the immediate, let's say, resilience, what needs to come is a time for collaboration. This community of shared future for mankind cannot be built in one step. It's a long process, and it will require much more dialogue, collaboration. But certainly, if we go into the direction of this community, I think the role of China and Europe, China and France will be absolutely key.